What is up, and welcome to the Washington football team preview on the DLF YouTube channel. Who needs a derby when you've got heavy hitters like we have today to talk about the Washington football team? We're going to talk about everybody, anything and everything. We invite very smart people on to talk about football and break things down fantasy-wise. But we add a little twist. They are also fans of these teams. So we will get into that in just a second. As luck would have it, we happen to come up on Washington football team on a day where it sounds like there's a little progress made on the name. We'll get into that as we talk to this incredible group of guys who I'm looking forward to hanging out with and talking about this team. I'll start to my left and introduce you to Jorge. I'm so excited to have you here, Fantasy and Frames. Jorge, tell everybody what you're working on. How can they find out what you're doing and support you over this offseason?
Yeah, great. First of all, thanks for having me on, Cal. Loved our show we did a couple of months ago talking about Washington, and now we're back here getting closer to the start of the regular season. I can't wait. You can find me over at Fantasy and Frames on Twitter and go to my website, fantasyandframes.com. We are currently doing 64 articles in 32 days, putting out 2 articles a day per team, looking at offense in the morning and IDP in the evening, as well as doing our podcast multiple times a week now, Fourth and Frames. So head over there and rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And, we're gearing ready for the FF Expo, the Fantasy Football Expo. That's in August. Can't wait for that. A lot of stuff planned at the Fantasy and Frames booth. So come on, check us out. And, yeah, happy to be here, man.
Somebody I know is going to be tearing up Canton in a few weeks is the man right below Jorge, Robbie. Excited to have you warned them that you're coming? Is there something where you've got to let them know you're going to be there?
No, I just actually chilled with the homie Bob Long over the weekend, talked up some extra details. I'm actually one of the hosts for Draft Night Out, so make sure you guys get your tickets, draftnightout.com. Come and party with the Rumboys. I am giving away five raffle tickets. We're going to be raffling a bunch of the NFL memorabilia. Come get you to sign Calvin Ridley jersey. We got a Danger Russ jersey. This is Danger Russ. We also come with a little Kyler Murray memorabilia as well, autograph, and plenty of more stuff. Everyone is going to be getting a draft guide by the homie Bob Long. So you're going to be able to draft, have your guide right there. Draftnightout.com. Also, y'all can check me out on the Sports Me app. Making some 30-second quick content, answering your fantasy football questions, talking up NBA, MLB, all of our favorite sports. Get on over there, download the app. Yeah, that's what I got going on.
Robbie really is one of the best in the business. I'm pumped to have you here to talk, and always excited to be on a stream with you. Invited me over to his channel. That's a lot of fun. You got to make sure you go check out all the really great guys he's got and girls working with him on that. So,
bro, before we continue, I do got to say cheers to me, cheers to you, shout out to the whole Dynasty League football crew, Dilly. It wouldn't. I gotta give myself that good luck
without that, man. Yeah. Got to have that. And then, first time I'm getting to stream with you, Manny, but I'm excited for you to take your time. Tell everybody what you're working on, where they can find you, and how we can support you over the offseason.
You too. What's up, man? This is your guy, Manny. And I'm the host of Talking Sports with Manny podcast. Started out as a podcast, and now we have a YouTube channel, and we're growing over there. Check me out. I got fantasy football, NBA, NFL. Then I got 2 other pods, the Back Row Redskins Show. Yes, I'm still operating under the old name until we do change the name. I didn't want to rebrand just yet. And then also have a Lakers podcast, Showtime with Manny. So I'm very busy, got a lot going on. You guys can check me out on Twitter at Manny Chakuba, and also TS with Manny on Twitter.
Yo, really quick with Manny, that was the happiest day when I found someone that's a fan of 2 of the exact same teams as me. The Spider-Man meme where you're pointing.
What's the other team?
Lakers.
Lakers
and
okay.
Washington football team.
Oh.
I'm a Laker fan for now because I'm a LeBron fan. So I'm not an actual Laker fan. I'm a LeBron fan.
We welcome you.
Yep. Yeah, and I kind of like Anthony Davis because he was in New Orleans for a while. So I can get down with the Lakers. I can get down with the Lakers. But let's talk about this Washington football team. And obviously we typically get right into what happened over the offseason, but a big part of the offseason is something, coming down today sounds like there's some narrowing down of name, maybe. Jorge, I know you were plugged into that. What do you know about the name and where things stand there?
So from what I know so far is that they've come out and said, the Redskins organization that is, that they will not have any Native American imagery associated with the name, as well as not. And then one of the beat reporters for the Washington football team, JP Finley, over at NBC, he gave his personal quote unquote opinion that there wouldn't be anything red associated with the name. Whether or not that's true or not, whether that comes from the organization or not, who knows? But he's normally pretty tapped in, right? When it comes to information for Washington.
Yeah, Robbie, is there any chance that they come up with a name cooler than Washington football team? I kind of feel like there's nowhere to go from there but down.
What I've been seeing in a lot of the Facebook groups, Washington Nation and stuff like that, is a lot of people are really voting for the Wolves, for it to be the Wolves. Some of the edits that I've been seeing for how these uniforms would look, I don't like. But we'll see how they completely took the red off the helmet. They made it gold, and I was like, that's not us. So we'll see. It's not even red; it's burgundy at that. But yeah,
Yeah, Manny, what do you think? Any love for the Expos? Can we name them the Expos?
Nah, it's gonna be the Washington Unicorns. I'm telling you. It's gonna be something so crazy or so silly or something unexpected. But honestly, I don't really care. As long as they keep my colors, my burgundy and gold, we are okay. They can even name them the Washington Burgundies for all I care. I really don't care.
I like
Just
that.
keep my colors. Just leave my colors alone.
I like that. I honestly, like, I remember, so the Pelicans did this, right? Like, they were the New Orleans Hornets, and then they changed their name. They gave the Hornets name back to Charlotte and had to rename them the Pelicans. And like, everybody talked about how the Pelicans was just the stupidest name in the world, but like, nobody cares now. They're just like, whatever. They're the Pelicans. Like, it just kind of like fits whatever. Whatever comes out, there's going to be a reaction to it. And then in a couple of years, they're going to just be like, oh yeah, that's whatever.
The team. That's the name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. The Burgundies. That's my favorite so far now.
Like, at least give us a logo. Like, I am not trying to be out here like the Browns with just an orange helmet.
Right. Or 2 zeros or whatever it is.
Yeah, no.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Give me a logo, please.
Alabama 2.0.
There we go.
I mean, it's pretty much on defense, right?
Pretty much.
So I think, the last time we talked about Washington, we were looking forward to what they could potentially do over the offseason, and we knew quarterback was going to be something they were going to have to address, which they did. Also, added some offensive weapons. So, in fact, Manny, let's start with you on this. What do you think over the course of the offseason? What was the best move that Washington made?
Honestly, the best move of the offseason was William Jackson III. I understand this is a fantasy show. We want numbers. We want the explosive plays. But I'm telling you, this Washington DST has the opportunity to be the number one DST in fantasy football. Yep. William Jackson III allows you to play press man. I mean, he's long, he's tough, he's fast, and he plays physical. And people always laugh about his what you call it, INTs. 3 for like his 3 years or 4 years. But with this defensive line, he's gonna match his entire lifespan of picks. He is gonna tear it up, and I think that he is gonna be the most valuable player that we have on defense this year.
I love that take. And of course, Jamin Davis only, adds to a group that if there was a weakness, I guess linebacker would be it. And, he only adds to that. And yeah, I love that take because part of the story of this team and where they're going to go in fantasy definitely is that defense that could be the best in the league. So yeah, yes, it's a fantasy show, but I think that does play in. Robbie, what about you? What do you think the best move of the offseason was for this team?
Well, first, Manny, I enjoyed that take right there. You mentioned William Jackson because what that defense is going to allow to do is going to allow this offense a whole hell of a lot more opportunities. And that allows for us to see what happens with De'Ami Brown and Curtis Samuel. I think bringing in Curtis Samuel in free agency, and that's the guy that I'm really highlight. Him and McLaurin having been former Ohio State roommates, them two knowing each other really well, having already played in the system together, and both of them were amazing receivers still in that system. McLaurin will still be the number one, but bringing in Curtis Samuel, and even drafting Brown allows McLaurin to now have a more longer, illustrious career. Maybe similar to that of what we saw to a Jerry Rice or a Randy Moss or so on and so forth. I think this guy can last in the league for a very, very long time, even despite the amount of hits that he was taking in his first 2 years, being the only primary target there. So I'm appreciative that Washington brought in some other bodies for the receiving core so that McLaurin can last longer, because I want him to be a franchise guy.
We like to be a show of the people. I mean, like, yeah, Jorge, you going to bring up Adam Humphries here or what?
Oh, no.
Shout out Adam Humphries.
You know who I'm excited about as far as the best move of the offseason. You can't score points without a quarterback slinging the ball. And I think in your show a couple months ago, I was pretty high on Ryan Fitzpatrick. Everybody was like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It happened, folks.
And we told them that it was going to happen.
For fantasy purposes, wow, it opens up so many doors. It actually, in my opinion, closes some doors, and I guess we can get into that a little bit later on offense that I don't know many people have the same take on. But as far as my best move, I'm going to stick on the defensive side of the ball. I like to specialize in individual defensive players for fantasy football. And Willie Jackson, he cemented every single other unit on that defense, whether it's at the linebacking, whether it's at the defensive line, linebackers. I was really hoping that the Washington football team would bring in Eric Wilson, but he went to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
But the drafting of Jamin Davis, he is such a good tackler, and he's pretty good in coverage too. And my only question is, why haven't they moved him to middle linebacker yet and had kicked John Bostic to the outside? We'll see. But for IDP purposes, this sets up so many players. You could literally have an IDP roster of just Washington football team players, and you'd be set.
Yep.
I think you're 100% right on that. I mean, like, gosh, just exploding onto the scene last year on the defensive line with Chase, and even Ryan Kerrigan had like a resurgence, even like to a degree. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead, Robbie. What?
No, I was in agreement with you. I was just saying, yeah.
Yeah, that D line was like the best in the league, for sure. And then it was a quarterback play. So I'm glad you brought that up with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I think, there's a lot of people who are really excited about that move. Of course, they also re-signed Taylor Heineke, I think that's the right way you say that.
Heineke.
Moving on from Haskins, which they cut last year, signing in Pittsburgh, but also moving on from Alex Smith. So what do you think? I mean, almost a complete overhaul there of the quarterback position, which is really important. What do you think about the matchup between Riverboat Ron and Fitzmagic, Manny? Do you think are we going to get Fitzmagic or Fitztragic?
I think it's a beautiful marriage. You pay Fitzpatrick $10 million to come in and be the guy. So Fitzpatrick is the guy, right? But Ron Rivera says that this is a true quarterback or true competition. He wants competition on every single level, right? So Heineke can definitely push a Fitzpatrick, but I think that Fitzpatrick and Ron Rivera marriage is going to be awesome because that offense needs a playmaker. That offense needs a quarterback that can throw the ball. You're going to see a Terry McLaurin go deep this year. And last year, he could have gone deep, but he didn't have the quarterbacks that can throw the ball to him. So this season, if that offensive line, comes together and does what they need to do, you're going to see a lot of air yards going deep to guys like Brown and Samuel and Terry. So I think that marriage is going to be pretty good right there.
What do you think, Robbie? You like Fitzmagic being there?
I do, and it's exactly for a lot of the reasons that Manny said. What you're going to do with the playbook is you're going to try and stretch the hell out this field because you have so many speedsters to where you can send any one of them on a 7 route or above to really just start tiring out those guys and really challenging the secondary throughout the course of the game. I think you can see this team step out early and try and challenge defenses so that later in the game, now we can just start pounding the rock right down their throat. This offensive playbook from an X's and O standpoint is going to look significantly different. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see opposing defenses winded, because what are you going to do when you have receivers that are all sub 4.4 guys?
Yep.
Play back, and that's probably your best bet at getting some rest. And even still, now they're such good route runners, they'll just now play short and catch everything short. So I fear for opposing defenses, but hey, we got the core to pull this off.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I want to go back over to you, Jorge, here and start off with this other question here. Head scratching moves of the offseason. Is there anything that Washington did over the course of the offseason that kind of left you saying, like, why did they do this?
Yeah, not re-sign Brandon Sheriff. I think you're losing a big piece of that offensive line if you don't re-sign him. Obviously, he's been a Pro Bowler. He's one of the anchors there. Offensive guards, quality offensive guards, they don't grow on trees, and you don't get, as much as we love Ryan Fitzpatrick, as long as we love the skill players and whoever, it doesn't go anywhere. That offensive line doesn't do its job, and I hope Washington between now and the end of the season finds a way to bring him back, but it's not looking too good right now.
Robbie, what do you think?
I don't necessarily have a head scratcher. I guess it would go probably back to draft night. And I still kind of had worried about Jamin Davis. I felt that we could have maybe moved up to go and get a lineman, but we corrected that, and that put me at ease when we grabbed Sam Cosby. So I don't really have a head scratcher because we fixed that head scratcher during that moment.
Manny, any moves? You look like you have had one in mind for sure.
Yes, sir. So for me, it's the lack of not getting another linebacker. George talked about it earlier. I love Jamin Davis. I had Jamin Davis, I think, number 2 on my board. So I was okay with Jamin Davis. I mean, I think that was the right pick. But my problem is if Cole Holcomb, if he goes down or something happens to Jamin Davis, then who the heck are we playing? We're going to play a lot of 4-2-5. I get that. We're going to play more safeties than linebackers. We're going to play more safeties at the what they call it, Buffalo nickel and, things like that. That's fine. But if one of our top 2 linebackers go down, which we only have 2, we have Holcomb and then we have Jamin Davis. You sprinkle in just a little bit of Khalid Hudson and you might have something there. But to not go out there and get another linebacker, that was a very cocky move to me. And it can come back to bite us. It can come back I hope it doesn't. But I just don't understand not going out there to grab another quality linebacker. KJ Wright is still out there. There's still a lot of guys out there that can help to improve this defense. Not only improve the defense, but also have depth. You need depth at every single position, and it just seems like Ron Rivera wants to play more safeties than linebackers.
Well, to that point, look at the offensive firepower this team is going to have to deal with in the division. So, to a degree, I can understand the addressing of the secondary, but I'm with you. Linebacker was a sore spot, and you're right. If Jamin Davis goes down, who do we got? Is John Bostic going to step up again this year? Was he going to
probably not
make it through
cut
camp?
That guy. I'm tired of that guy. Just cut him.
I agree with Bostic. I agree with John Bostic. He's fucking trash. I did it.
We're gonna get cut out of the Avengers here, Robbie. So the other moves would be, as Jordan. I saw Jordan Vanek in the chat here. His favorite move of adding Curtis Samuel. I've seen him take him in literally every mock draft I've seen Jordan in. And Diami Brown. I mean, those are a couple of wide receivers that they desperately needed. I mean, right? You needed to add depth wide receiver to this team, and those two guys certainly could fill that role. Right. I don't know that we know for sure they're going to fill that role. Manny, let's start with you. What do you think about adding those two people? I mean, we've seen Ron Rivera mess up Curtis Samuel before, right? Is there a little bit of hesitation in what he could be?
See, the thing is with Ron Rivera, he's going to coach defense. He's going to let Scott Turner do his thing. He brought in Scott Turner to be the guy. Right. So for half of the season, I was not impressed with Scott Turner. The second half of the season, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what you can do. But when you look at the team last year, we didn't have players. Okay. I don't even know how that team won 7 games. Think about it. You bring in guys like Logan Thomas and J.D. McKissick. So we didn't have wide receivers. Those were the reasons why you saw a uptick in targets for guys like Logan Thomas and McKissick. This year, not the same. So both guys are going to take a regression in terms of targets and points and everything like that. So Diami Brown, he's going to be the guy that finishes the year most likely as the wide receiver too. Yep. But I think that Curtis Samuel is going to be used in, just all over, out the backfield, jet sweeps, screens. He's going to be the guy that has the potential to have the most touches outside of Terry McLaurin. But it all comes down to who does Fitzpatrick get that connection with outside of Terry. You know, we've seen through history, Fitzpatrick loves these big-bodied wide receiver. So I'm going to throw a wild card out there. Look for a guy like a Cam Sims or an AGG or Harmon.
Makes sense.
One of those bigger guys that when he throws those crazy passes, those jump balls, he loves the jump ball guys. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I don't know if it's going to be Curtis Samuel or if it's going to be Brown. Brown is more safe for Dynasty. But Curtis Samuel, just temper your expectations because I don't know. It's going to be a wild card with him. So look for one of those bigger type wide receivers if you play in a deeper league, and maybe those guys give you some pretty good weeks here and there.
So Curtis Samuel ended as wide receiver 38 last year. And an offense that mostly utilized him in jet sweeps. I think that what we're going to, in order to find a wide receiver 2, I think that Curtis Samuel could potentially be a wide receiver 2 on this team. Because of what you just said, you know, Scott Turner being utilized, their ability to stretch the field. I wholeheartedly believe that Scott is sitting down, especially because, you know, Terry and Curtis know each other, and he's sitting down with those two, especially, and Diami just kind of sitting there in the room, being little brother, listening and catching on. And I think that routes are mainly being keyed up for those two. Because they're also going to have that understanding, you know, less an argument, so on and so forth. I think Diami's still going to have time to he's going to have to prove himself. He'll start to have flashes. I think maybe you know, around week 7, week 8-ish, and that's when we start to see, okay, maybe now in 2022 we're talking about Diami as a wide receiver 2, and then Curtis Samuel is either still with us or somewhere else. But I love Diami for dynasty purposes. In terms of redraft, a wide receiver 38 can make a jump, maybe end as wide receiver 22. You know, I think that's the highest. I think that is the ceiling for Curtis Samuel, while still allowing McLaurin to progress from what I believe he was wide receiver 13 to break into that top 10. Maybe he ends wide receiver 8.
I'm getting De'Ami Brown in every single best ball draft I can get because you know he's gonna win you one week. You know, some Manny, you brought a good point about the offense last year. I would argue that we haven't really seen Turner's true offense because what is it? It's just like his dad's. It was passing the ball downfield, vertical passes, nothing really over the middle, which kind of makes me a little bit concerned with Curtis Samuel if he does line up as the slot wide receiver. You said it also. Turner, she's not Turner. Well, I guess Turner and Rivera, they didn't use Curtis Samuel too well a couple seasons ago. It was only under Matt Rule last year that they were truly utilizing him as his skill set. I'm a little concerned about his fantasy value. To me, I'm envisioning how the defenses are going to react to Curtis Samuel on the field. I think his athleticism and his playmaking ability are going to suck these defenses in, bring these defenders closer to the line of scrimmage, which is going to open up the vertical passing game. My only question is, you know, eventually will De'Ami Brown supplant, you know, currently on ourlads.com, they have Kelvin Harmon as the starting wide receiver opposite of Terry McLaurin. Does that last? Does De'Ami Brown actually become that wide receiver 2 as the season progresses? That remains to be seen. That would be great. And I think this year you're going to finally see the true Scott Turner offense that, you know, we've been waiting to see because we have that quarterback now in Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if we don't have Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm pretty confident that Taylor Heineke can do that job too. So it's going to be fun to see.
Robbie, I want to start with you on the next question, but I do want to let you know, Manny, like I definitely want to go back and get a clip of your face when he said Kelvin Harmon was the head of him on the depth chart because it was priceless.
So I had interviewed Harmon and I was like, man, like this dude is built like Julio. And then when he got hurt and just hasn't done anything, I was like, I was so disappointed.
But yeah, who do you think right now in fantasy isn't getting enough respect from this Washington football team, Robbie?
That backfield, honestly, like Antonio Gibson needs to be your RB2 on your roster. You know, so if you go with the CMC or Derrick Henry in like that first round, you know, any of those guys, Dalvin Cook, be looking to pair up with Gibson in the second. The reason why I feel like he's not getting enough respect is because there's too much apprehension around J.D. McKissick and how J.D. McKissick is going to affect this backfield. This man plays 2 games. Okay, no, 4 games. Okay, he plays 2 against Dallas and 2 against Philly. he is going to slaughter both of those teams. The Giants defense is a little bit more improved and a little bit better than what people think because they got Martinez on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm excluding them. He's going to play against 4 soft run defenses, 2 times, or he's going to play against 2 soft run defenses 4 times a year. I'm taking this guy in any all formats. On top of that, his ability to fall forward, that's extra points. I'm not leaving any points on the table.
Yes, sir.
So when it comes to Antonio Gibson, I'm gonna keep pounding the drum. Everyone, please make him your RB2 as long as you can still get him as your RB2.
You better preach, Robbie.
There is a serious chance. There's a serious chance that when we get to the end of that first round, he could go as early as RB11 in your draft. So you need to lock him in.
Yeah, he's and in the dynasty world, I think we've
or
caught
11
up
in the
to
first
him.
round. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've caught up to him a little bit more, I think, than the rest. On DLF's latest ADP, he's going as the RB10, which is great. There's a lot of guys ahead of him, though. Like, I expect him to be ahead of a lot of the players ahead of him because it's an interesting time at running back because there's a lot of running backs getting older who are going to age out of where we're going to be excited about them in dynasty and in startups next year. I think Antonio Gibson's going to be top 5. I mean, he's going to be like way up there. I think some of those sophomore running backs for sure, depending on how this year goes. Manny, what about you? What do you think in terms of this? This question: who isn't getting enough respect on the Washington football team?
Mine was also Antonio Gibson, but I'm going to pick somebody else just because Robbie Robbie was preaching, man. He was preaching. He had me hyped, And also, to Robbie's point, when you look at the playoff schedule, I think it's like the NFC East. It doesn't even matter who they're playing. So that's championship winning football right there. When you're playing all these sorry teams at the end, notice I said sorry teams at the end, you can get a lot of points. And I see Gibson as a RB1 this year. I'm not saying RB1 overall. I'm saying the top 12, running back this year in the fantasy football. And if you're getting him in the second round, it's a steal. If you're pairing this guy with a McCaffrey, whoever, it's crazy. That's going to be a nasty combo. Gibson
He's going to end RB6. He is going to end RB6 overall. I promise.
I agree. And you was mentioning about J.D. McKissick, and I said, nah, J.D. McKissick is going to be phased out. You're going to see Antonio Gibson catch more passes. This is going to be year 2, and they want to use him kind of how they use CMC. Go look at CMC's numbers, and you can kind of compare it to what Gibson can do. I'm not saying he's going to produce CMC type numbers, but what I am saying is the usage is going to be a lot of CMC like type stuff. Okay. Now, the guy that I'm going to pick is going to be Logan Thomas. He's being overlooked. He's being overlooked. You've seen all these new targets, all these new weapons. It's looking nice out there. He's going to have more touchdowns this year than he had last year. So Logan Thomas is a guy that's going like tight end, 7 to 9. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of crazy tight ends go ahead of him. And he's a guy that if you're doing a 0 tight end rule in a draft or whatever, he's there every single time for the taking. He's there every single time in the taking. I did a draft, and it was a tight end premium draft, and it was a startup. And I was able to get Logan Thomas like in round 15 or round 16. I mean, the disrespect is crazy. He's going to get more red zone targets. Like I said, Ryan Fitzpatrick loves these big guys. And he's going to be able to, like that middle of the field, like George said earlier, it's going to be open.
It's going to be so soft because all the receivers are going to take that whole secondary as far back as they can. That's just going to open up for where the slot and the tight end can just easy curl routes, in, outs, digs, stuff like that. That's what's going to be happening for that part of the receiving core, the pass catching core.
I agree. Lots of first downs and lots of 10 to 15-yard receptions. All right, I'm done.
I got him at 902 in SFB, and I thought that was like stealing. I love that. I ended up getting him there. Jorge, I want to go to you on with that question about Gibson, because if anybody like that's the question on him, right? Is like, oh, McKissick is going to take all the catches. That's kind of the predominant thought. Why is that? Or do you agree with that? Or if not, if you agree with Manny, like why is that the wrong take when you're looking at this backfield?
So first of all, from a fantasy perspective, I like Gibson. I'm not sold on Gibson as being like this solid RB1 person. And again, it depends on what format we're talking about. If we're talking about non-PPR, I think the rushing attempts will be there. The rushing volume was there. He has the potential to be a low RB1, high RB2. If we're talking about PPR, I think fans might be a little bit disappointed because, again, it goes back to what does this offense really like to do? They like to throw it down the field. You know, the reason why J.D. McKissick and to a certain extent Antonio Brown got all these Antonio Gibson got all these passes last year is because they had a quarterback who was dinking and dunking all the way down the field. Okay, literally, that's what was happening. That's not happening this year. You know, they invested too much in these wide receivers who go downfield. And you brought up Logan Thomas. That's a great example of a disrespected player here in Washington. There are a lot of mouths to feed in the receiving game. So I'm kind of concerned about their reception upside. I still think I agree with you guys 100%. Like as your RB2, if you go RB1 in the first round of your drafts, it's great. But you know, for those who go wide receiver early in their drafts and then want to get Antonio Gibson as their RB1, especially in PPR leagues, I'd be a little bit hesitant.
Okay, interesting take because I go back and forth on it, and like sometimes I'm like right there with you, and sometimes I'm like right there with Manny on it, and I think about Curtis Samuel and his ability to maybe catch the ball out of the backfield too, and I wonder if like there could be some sort of difference. But I think if you just clear things out and you just say like, okay, Antonio Gibson was a wide receiver in college, why wouldn't we utilize him to catch the ball, right?
And
I would hope, right?
I was going to say something similar. Maybe you see some wheel routes. Maybe you see him running some actual routes. Maybe you see Gibson in the slot. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I mean, you have to look at it like this, okay? And we've seen this with pretty much almost every back for the last 3 years that came out of Memphis. They all pretty much get used as dual threats, or they all kind of do a lot of the same things. And I think that Washington is going to do that with Gibson, either because you have too much firepower to not use all the talent. I know that it's impossible in 4 quarters, in 1 hour of football to utilize all the talent that you have because of all the different plays that you got to call. Mm-hmm. But I really wholeheartedly think that it's impossible to not somehow, some way get the most out of each one of these guys on this roster. This is a really fast roster. This could probably be one of the fastest rosters in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, and we still didn't really, I guess, like hit on praising Terry McLaurin, which we'll get there in just a second. But let's answer this second to last question here. But who is the hype train getting carried away with? Like, is there anybody? And Jorge, maybe I'll go right back to you. Do you think that Gibson is the answer for this?
Yeah, I think I answered these in like probably the reverse order. Yeah, so I think for the high RB1 upside or the mid RB1 upside for Gibson maybe a little bit too rich for my blood. But if I could flip it and go to quickly a player that I'm pretty impressed with who isn't getting enough respect, and I'll go to the IDP side of the ball, Deron Payne. He got re-upped this offseason, I believe, with a new contract, or I believe a contract extension. For IDP, you want your linebackers, you want your strong safeties, and you want your defensive ends who get you plenty of sacks. Defensive tackle is not a sexy position in IDP circles, but if you look at, in weeks 8 through the rest of the season last year, as Chase Young progressed, as he evolved, as Montez Sweat progressed and he evolved, these two stud outside defensive ends, all the attention was taken by these guys, by the offensive linemen, and that freed up Deron Payne to have a lot more one-on-one rush attempts. He got more quarterback hits. He even started disrupting the passing game, for crying out loud. I think this is a guy, if you have a defensive tackle spot on your roster or even a defensive line spot, this is somebody that you may want to consider rostering, especially during those bye weeks.
I love that take. I actually had Deron during that time period last year. I had him on
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. One that I think that people are getting carried away with, I would probably say it would be the Gibson, just because it's either you're on one side of the coin or you're not. Obviously we know which side I am on. I'm a Gibson truther, but I think that's probably the only hype train in DC that we really have.
Yeah. There's a lot of pushing for Terry McLaurin too. I mean, like, if we think about this team in terms of how many, like, if they have this great defense, is that going to limit how much they're going to pass the ball this year? Like, if they are improved as a team and it ends up translating to more wins, like, are we going to get the kind of pass volume that we want, Manny?
Look, one thing about Scott Turner is that he loves to pass the ball, and it pisses me off because when we're winning, he's still passing the ball, and I'm like, "What the heck are you doing, bro? What the heck are you doing? Run the ball. It's good defense and running back. That's what when you have very good defense, you run the ball to run out the clock. He will pass the ball to continue to move the chains. So I hope that we're able to pass the ball, but at the same time, I think there's going to be enough targets to go around. Now, I don't know who's getting the targets, but I think we're going to pass the ball a good amount. And you're going to see a lot of screens, a lot of dump-offs, which are extensions of the running game.
Yep.
So, that's why I go back to I think the running backs are going to be involved a lot this year, as well as the tight ends. There's going to be some 2 tight end sets. There's going to be a lot of crazy different things, but he loves to pass the ball, and it pisses me off. I'm kind of worried. Like, are we actually going to run the ball this year? Even though I like Gibson's upside, but we're going to be up a lot in most games, and I just hope that there's some kind of balance. You need that balance.
With as good as our defense can potentially be and will potentially be, that is one of the things that kind of worries me. But I counteract that with defense. You're giving offense more opportunities per game on a per game basis, so that we can go out there and get more done and have more opportunities. So with that being said, I think that we could see a lot more 14-point lead games, before half than what we saw last year, and I think that could bode well in our favor.
To that point, this Washington football team defense, that by the way added talent, had the fourth. It was the 4th best in terms of points, so 4th least amount of points given up, 2nd least amount of yards, and still had the 9th most pass attempts. So to your point there, Manny, and the 25th most rushing attempts. So even with those strong defensive numbers, didn't quite get exactly what you would what we normally think about fantasy wise.
Yeah,
right. And to my next point, you was asking about the hype train. There is a hype train on a guy named is it JP Patterson? I can't even think of his first name right now.
Jared Patterson.
Jared Patterson. Sorry, Jared Patterson.
Yeah.
He is dependent on if Gibson gets hurt. So there's a lot of hype. In all the drafts that I've done, I've seen that guy go like mid to not towards the end of the draft. He's a guy that might not make the 53. I'm pulling for him. I'm a big fan of his. I see an upside of like a Maurice Jones-Drew type of back, not production, but type of back, his body type. He's the guy that's creating a lot of hype right now, a lot of buzz in the Redskins YouTube, videos and stuff like that. Everybody's talking Patterson, because we don't have a true RB2. You got our Barber and all these other bums out there. So he's a guy that us Washington fans are overvaluing. So I'm just hoping it pans out. So that
Jorge, let me ask you this. Terry McLaurin got 134 targets last year. Do you think he has more than that in 2021 or less?
150.
150.
I was about to hit that too. Yeah, that's crazy.
He is somebody who's going to have wide receiver 1, mid wide receiver 1 value this year. This is a match made in heaven. This quarterback and this passing, this scheme, this quarterback, this situation. And because they have so many weapons on offense, there's no way defenses are going to be able to double team him all game long. This is going to be such a fantasy bonanza for,
he faces James Bradbury twice. Like, that's the best corner that he faces. Outside of that,
right? What's Dallas bringing to you? What's Philadelphia bringing to you? Like, it's
Agreed.
I agree. You think he's going to be targeted more than that 134 times?
Yes, I was actually going to say 150. Yeah.
Wow, 150 is so much. Like, that's going to put him in that upper echelon. And like, part of me thinks back to Scott Turner wasn't around, but like, it just, when I think about the Panthers and I think about, I don't know if Jordan's in there, it reminds me of like that Jake Delhomme when he was like a little bit older and going to Steve Smith a little bit. Like, he's not the same kind of wide receiver, but Terry's got a little bit of that dog in him too.
Yep.
He does, and he does not like to lose, and he is one heck of a competitor.
He'll go rip the ball away from a defender who may have made a pick just to get those yards and get that catch.
Just go look at Ryan Fitzpatrick and his number one wide receivers and the target share that those guys receive, regardless of who's the number two. I mean, you look at the year when they had Brandon Marshall and Decker, both guys 8. So Fitzpatrick loves to throw the ball. He's with an offensive coordinator who loves to throw the ball. Terry McLaurin loves to catch the ball. I'm seeing like up to maybe 1,400 yards with that extra game. I'm seeing about 7 touchdowns, and I'm seeing about 95 receptions. So,
and that's if there was anything he didn't do last year, it was he didn't get in the end zone enough, right? He had 4 touchdowns, and that was part of the thing that held him back from. If he had gotten 9 touchdowns last year, we'd be drafting him in that like Calvin Ridley range, right? Like he would he wouldn't be going after that for sure. So okay, there's really not a lot. I mean, is there any like I guess leading up to training camp? Like when I say rumors, I just mean like storylines or plot lines. Like obviously the name, like that's kind of the biggest thing. That's the biggest buzz right now around the team. Like, is there anything else that you're kind of paying attention to? Camp battles, anything like that?
The quarterback position. I mean, that's kind of something that I'm kind of curious about. Like how good is Tyler Heineke? Everybody, look, give the guy his props. He played his ass off on the in that playoff game against the Buccaneers, but
sure did.
Can he really push for the starting gig? I don't know. We'll find out.
The biggest thing that I'm looking at, I'm doing a camp series battle actually on my YouTube channel. I have tons of different camp battles like Dax Mills versus Adam Humphries. That's a pretty interesting one. AGG versus Harmon. That's an interesting one because they're going to take certain types of guys. Like you're going to take one slot guy. You're going to take one big body guy. And maybe a guy like AGG who people have been waiting for to do something, he might not make the team. So there's a lot of interesting battles going on, but the most intriguing to me is the Jimmy Moreland versus Benjamin St-Juste. Okay? Benjamin St-Juste has a chance to be the number 2 corner, meaning starting on the outside and then moving Kendall Fuller to the inside, playing the slot. So that's an interesting situation because Jimmy Moreland, he's been good, but he has not really shown us that next level of play. And if Benjamin St-Juste wins that job, you now have William Jackson III and Benjamin St-Juste, who's 6'3", playing on the outside, and then you have one of the best slot corners in the world in Kendall Fuller playing his true natural position, which can also upgrade that defense. So,
especially I think you guys mentioned there's some pretty good receivers in this division too. Especially you face the Cowboys and they've got a bunch of receivers they can throw at you, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Last question. This is it. Last year this team was 7-9, but won the division. What are your predictions for 2021? Now remember 17 games, so recalibrate that. But Jorge, I'll start with you. What do you think for this team? What's their record at the end of 2021?
I think they go 11-6. I think they compete for the division title. They have the defense to win it again. I'll tell you that. So 11-6 is my number. They are not they're not winning this division with a losing record. I'll tell you that much. So.
No, yeah. I don't think that anyone that in this division that is going to be eyeing to contend, I don't think has a losing record. I think that last year, us as a whole, as the NFC as a whole, NFC East as a whole, I think that was a fluke. That aside, I want to go 12-5. I'm gonna give us one extra than Jorge up there. I'm just feeling super confident that the defense is gonna amass so many turnovers to where, I mean, the offense will do its thing and be its offense. Fitzpatrick will lose us 2 games where he throws his 4 picks, like that's fine. But I really think the defense is just. I don't know the last time we saw a defense that's like this that can honestly keep you in games and maybe even score and win games for you. Like this defense will be pick 6 city. Will be pick 6 city, no doubt.
I'm between Chase Young and then I don't even think we've seen the best of Montez Sweat yet. I think the best is still yet to come for him. He could the amount of pressure they can get on the quarterback. This is not going to be a fun team to play. Whoever is behind center for the other team is not going to be having a good day when they face Washington. That's for sure. Manny, what do you think? Is it going to translate to an 11-6, 12-5 type record?
I'm gonna say 10-7. And this is why. I've been a fan since 1999, and I have not seen more than 10. I think I've only seen 10 wins one time since 1999.
Yeah, you're
Correct
right.
me if I'm wrong. So
You're right.
Right.
I don't want to get my hopes up.
Right.
10-7 is safe. I think we are guaranteed 10 wins. I think we go 4-2 in the NFC East. If you can't dominate your division, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. That's just how I see it. So we got to go 4-2, and then we play some offenses like Tampa Bay. We play Kansas City. We play the Bills. We play Green Bay. We play ATL. So, yeah, the defense is good. We're talking like a lot of trash right now. But it's like, look, show me in those games.
I'm talking big trash.
Yeah. But I'm like, show me in those games. So I'm just going to stay safe. I'm going to go 10-7. We're guaranteed at least 10 wins.
The Chiefs ain't going to be the Chiefs. I have a feeling that this year the Chiefs got figured out. I think every team has figured out the Chiefs this year, personally. But
Offensive line.
Well,
you're right.
If you would like to know more about the Chiefs and maybe what some Chiefs fans, including Keith Cummings and our buddy Dave Mendelson, we talked about that on Friday on this channel. We did a Chiefs preview, and we talked about that upgraded offensive line, which is bringing in a ton of talent. By the way, like it can be kind of scary. They're going to have one of the better offensive lines in the league this year. It's like they were like. Yeah,
Orlando Brown was a huge acquisition for them.
Yeah. I'm a message Heath right after this episode. I'll be like, go listen to the DLF show. I just made you mad. We're probably not going to be friends after this.
And Joe Thuney too. Don't forget. I mean, that Joe Thuney, they took Kyle Long out of retirement. And then there was one that their starting guard went to Canada to fight COVID last year.
Tardif.
And so I mean, and they drafted one of the best interior lines in the draft too. But this isn't a Chiefs show. But if you're watching this and you want to go check that out, like make sure you go watch that. It was
Manny brought up that we got to face it. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. So I had to talk about bold predictions.
Nice. But Manny, absolute pleasure. All you guys, like this was so much fun. Manny, first time streaming with you. I loved being able to do it. Love your energy. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you're working on, and how they can help support you this off season one more time.
All right. So you guys, please go support me. Follow me on YouTube at Talking Sports with Manny. That's the biggest thing I have going on right now. Washington football news like 24/7, fantasy football, NBA, NFL, you name it. Just if you go there, you'll find the rest of me.
There it is. Robbie, how about you, man?
You guys can find me, Rumboys Robbie, on Twitter, Rumboys spelled a Z-N-E-T on Instagram, TikTok, all the other places. Rumboys.com for all my articles and my staff's articles and everything that they're dropping over there in the Captain's Corner. Download the Sports Me app. Debate me on anything that you want. I want all the smoke. I'm accepting all smoke over on the Sports Me app. I am actually I am the chief marketing officer and one of the owners of the app. So get on over there, show some love, support your boy. And yeah, I think that's really about it. I'm looking forward to collaborating with you guys more.
Love that. Always fun to do a show with you, Robbie. And Jorge, always a pleasure. We got to do a mock draft the other day. Always love being able to see you and what you're doing. You're doing a lot of great things over there at Fantasy and Frames. I know you're doing a ton, but you mentioned the IDP thing, which I think you do a great job with. Make sure you plug that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, we're doing our 64 and 32 day team previews where we're doing offense in the morning, IDP in the evening. We have our 4-Eyed Championships charity tournament starting up in terms of our drafting. We're getting ready for the Fantasy Football Expo and all the fun things we're doing there. In fact, I'll be in a panel talking about the importance of IDP in fantasy football. So come and check us out there, doing that with Nate Cheatham from IDP Guys. So that should be a lot of fun. And don't forget to check out our podcast, Fourth and Frames. Like every Wednesday, we stream 8 p.m. Eastern. We actually have a surprise show this Thursday with a special guest who's going to be wonderful. I'll just leave it at that this week. So check us out then. And you know what? As much as I love all the work we're doing, I love the effort that Robbie, you alluded to your writers. I'd be nothing. I'd be nowhere without the staff that I have here at Fantasy and Frames. Give respect to your staffs out there because they do a lot of great work. So thank you, everybody in the 4-Eyed family.
Everybody, go give your staff a fucking hug because you are nobody without them. I did it again, daddy.
Well, for these guys, like I am at Calvin and Hobby. Make sure you check out what we're doing. I've got I got DHH Tyler. He's coming on tomorrow to talk about the Falcons and Nick Pinnakoff as well, and maybe some others. And then Ask DLF with Tyler Karp tomorrow night. which we do every Tuesday night. And then I've got a ton. Just pay attention to my Twitter. We got so many of these coming out over the next 3 weeks. I'm going to be on here way too much. Way
No
too
such thing.
much.
No such
But
thing.
it's so much fun. I have so
The
much
more I
fun
get
doing
to
it.
see you, Cal, the better.
Absolutely.
Like, I love it.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks. But for these guys, look, make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Like, just look down there real quick. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, hit the thumbs up button, the comments, all those things. That's a way to support us, right? Like, the YouTube algorithm starts working in your favor, and that would really help us out. So make sure you go do that. And yeah, I will. For all these guys, for at DLF Football, we are out. We'll see you on the next.